Hey guys, it's Mike from Chess Lifestyle, and today I wanted to continue with the 1c3 Venom speedrun. And you might be thinking, what do you mean, continue? I don't see any other content on this channel with speedruns. And this is the slight problem I experienced. Thank you, motorbike in the background, which you can probably all hear. But yeah, basically, as you can see here, I streamed a 24-hour speedrun of 1c3 Venom. As you can see, it was literally 24 hours. And unfortunately, YouTube has a policy that any stream that's longer than 12 hours will not be archived. So simply all of this footage that was streamed was not saved at all. And I can't access any of this footage because it's simply not saved. So we got like 1,000 views. I don't know if you can see here. And yeah, it was a good video, but unfortunately none of it is safe. So basically what I wanted to do today was basically restart the speedrun, and I know some of you quite enjoyed it, so we're going to continue. We got to 1400 last time from 800, so we were down, okay, even before this we were down at 800. And then we got all the way to 1400. I think it says 1100 here because basically Chessable reset my rating back to 800 before doing this big climb. So yeah, it went from 800 to 1400. So we're just gonna make a video today, 1400 to 1500 speedrun, and see what we can learn from it. So let's play some C3 Venom. I'll try and commentate, and hopefully this will be educational for you guys. So let's give this a shot. Right, so for our first C3 game, we've got an E5 response, which means we're going to get a Caro-Kann reversed, and we have our most common Caro-Kann reverse exchange variation. Now, the opponent plays with bishop b4, which isn't going to be too much of a problem. I know some of you are asking about this move, but basically, okay, if they didn't take, we would basically be able to gain some time on it with a3, b4, which would help our minority attack. Now, if they do take the knight, well, we just get the bishop pair, and we're eventually going to be able to push for c4. So, okay, I don't really have a clear picture of where I want to develop my pieces with absolute certainty. But to be honest, actually, now that the bishop has traded, I probably want to keep my bishop and make sure I've got a retreat square. And I just want to develop all of my pieces. So I'm going to develop all my pieces first, and then we'll see. Right, so basically, even though my pawns have been broken somewhat, I still have this possibility for a minority attack on the queen side. And here my opponent, I was going to try and play for c4, maybe also try and prevent this piece from coming in. And I think I'll just keep the bishops. I'll keep the bishops, I'll line them up, pointing towards this queen side. And it's very, very clear we're going to be playing on the queen side where our king isn't. Now, we've still got to look for basic tactics, make sure we don't blunder anything. If I come here, maybe there's some potential of this, and I don't have bishop d3 to block. So I'm just going to go queen c1 instead, just keep hold of this pawn. And probably I want to put my queen on b2. Okay, that's quite an annoying move. An annoying move. I will defend a bit awkwardly like this, but still, I'm going to be able to get my pieces over. And then put my bishop on f3. And again, I should just have a decent initiative on this queen side. Like, I've got an open b file, the c pawn should be a bit weak. And yeah, I don't right now see exactly how I'm going to win this game, but I'm not too bothered. Like, I simply will wait to see if my opponent makes a really, really big weakening move, and simply put pressure on this side of the board. Like, that's basically what I'm aiming to do. And yeah, we'll see how that goes. Now, I'm moving pretty quickly because I'm just playing a 3-0 game. I want this speed run to get to 1500, but I also don't want it to take absolutely forever. So that is why I'm choosing this time control. But yeah, basically in this position, there is some pressure on this square. I do want to think about taking this B pawn if I can get away with it, but it's still quite a long way to go before I can achieve that. So before I even start thinking about these tactics, let's just improve all of our pieces first. I mean, very often in C3 Venom, we have this Caracan structure, which means very often strategically we have the better strategical position. So what that means is we really can spend the time to improve all of our pieces before trying to cash in some kind of significant advantage. So now that the bishop can no longer come to f5 and harass my queen, I probably want my queen on c2 instead. Basically opening up my rook to basically cause some mayhem. I'm also attacking the knight. I didn't even notice that, for the record. So you guys will notice if you watch my videos more, I'm definitely not tactically that strong, but I'm tactically aware enough to win games, right? So in this position, I give up my advantage of the bishop pair. I even don't mind if he doubles the pawns, just because I'm going to have a pawn extra, and also these pawns are really weak now. So I feel like that and an extra pawn is probably enough compensation to enable me to go for this. Now, where do I really want my pieces? My rook on a3 really feels uncomfortable. I definitely want to get that back somewhere. Aha, and that's his idea. Okay, let's put a rook on d1 so that we can take back with the... Oh, I missed that. Okay, that was a very, very bad miss. Just as I was saying how I was tactically aware enough. Okay, commentating 3-0 is maybe a terrible idea, but hopefully I will still be able to show maybe some mouse skills to try and win this game. If you do make such a blunder in a real game, probably you should be trying to play for like some counterplay on the king. In a situation like this, it's kind of debatable what is the best strategy. It might be also best to just make some safe moves, and definitely though we want to avoid trading pieces too much, because if we trade all the pieces, then it's going to be really easy for my opponent to pre-move. So let's try and keep the pieces on the board. I'm going to be annoying, keep this pawn as opposed to saving this pawn. I may not have even had a chance to. But yeah, basically I just want to keep the pieces on, be tricky. Let's add a bit of protection to my king. And let's create some checkmate idea. Hopefully they promote. They didn't. Oh, and that just blundered f2, which is a really bad thing to blunder, but luckily I get away with it. And let's see if I can somehow survive this. It's very unlikely, but you never know. Maybe I get a bit lucky. Maybe he trades everything. Okay, I reckon I can flag this. That's a very smart move. And also chess.com pre-moves are a little bit quicker, but we can still try and run. It's going to be close. It's going to be very close. And that's mate. Rats. Okay, so I hope you guys found that video interesting, at least up to that point. Basically, okay, blundering the rook is probably not advised, but I think before then we're doing well, all right. So basically, we got the bishop pair, we got an extra pawn, and these are great advantages to have from the opening. But ultimately, yeah, if you're blundering a full rook, then this is going to be a problem. Okay, so having blundered a rook in the last game, let's see if we can do any better here. So this time we get a London setup. Black has played with e6, which hems in their bishop. And yeah, this is, I'd say it's not such a critical line. We basically get maybe a tiny edge, and we don't need to know too much. We basically just develop our pieces, and already we've seen our opponent make a slight inaccuracy here. So why is this an inaccuracy? Well, we can simply take the knight, and now this pawn is just a tad bit weaker. And okay, black has played f5 to strengthen it, but then of course this weakens the e6 pawn. So we can think about how we're going to exploit this. I really like putting a knight on c4. I feel like we target some nice squares, we create a threat immediately, and whenever the bishop has to take on g3, we open the h file, and this is very nice. So already, for instance, we can already come in. In order to prevent our opponent from castling, I think this is a nice idea, and we can start collecting some pawns. So you see how I really didn't do anything, and already my opponent has kind of given me an opportunity to win some material. So this is great news. Um, Now at this point, we are material up, so we should consider trading pieces. But the thing is, until it feels suitable for us, I would advise just trading for the sake of trading. Like, unless this is a useful trade, then I wouldn't. And right now, I feel like actually keeping this very strong knight on c5 on the board is something in my favor. My rook is protected here, so I don't need to worry. So maybe at some point, if I feel like this bishop's going to become strong or my knight's going to become weak, then I'll trade. But until then, I really don't mind. And here we can see all of black's pawns are completely falling apart. And I'm actually going to head back this way. That's where the king is. So we may as well attack the side of the board. And this looks much more promising. Now this time I'm not blundering a rook, my opponent's blundering the rook. And hopefully, yeah, this is going to be GG very soon. So yeah, as you can see, like, this was proper carnage for the opponent. Let's bring both of our heavy pieces on this back rank. This puts a lot of pressure on my opponent, and that is a checkmate. So yeah, as you can see, really typical kind of London system game where the opponent is kind of maybe trying to play actively to counter the London, but then ultimately playing a little bit too loose and then making some mistakes as a result. Okay, let's play another. Okay, we get white pieces again. So let's go over c3. And hopefully, fingers crossed, they don't just abort, because this happens. Hey, that's good, that's good. So I guess my opponent was just thinking on what to do, and the bro pre-moves like knight c6. Okay, I haven't covered this in the course, but let's try and solve it anyway. So d5 or takes on c5 are going to be my moves, right? Now, d5, then I can put the bishop on f4 with tempo. This feels quite good, but I'm not exactly a fan of over-pushing here. Taking would also be fine. Probably they can like try and win it back. Do I really want to enter these shenanigans with b4? This is almost like a reverse Slav kind of situation. It's a very tough one. I mean, alternatively, I can also just play e4, right? And we can enter this kind of Alapin position where the opponent has given us a great edge. So in this position, there are lots and lots of really good moves here. I'm just going to play bishop f4. So the reason why is because as much as those other options are probably objectively good and also look very enticing, I'm very confident in my ability to play the positions that I've advocated for in the course. And this has reached an exchange Slav. And yeah, maybe in a classical game I'd consider like being super ambitious, but in a blitz game, it's really not wise to like play positions that you don't really understand. I mean, ultimately, I'm a strong enough player to be able to play those positions. But as you can see here already, okay, in the time it's taken for me to ramble on a bit, we see that I've got this slight advantage, where basically they can't push here because I'm going to have this tactic and pick up the queen. So that means they're going to be left with an isolated pawn. Now, I can't just reroute this knight and blockade this IQP. I need to sort out this pawn first. So how do I want to do that? Maybe the queen on b3 feels the best right now. Because this defends the pawn, this keeps the queen active, puts some pressure on the board. And next we're going to try and put a knight on d4. Now, whenever playing against the IQP, it's a very simple game, especially in a situation like this where black has already traded 2 minor pieces. And what you need to do in this position is try your best to trade off these minor pieces. If you can trade off these minor pieces and then simply double up your rooks on the d file against this pawn, you'll win. It's really that simple. So let's start off by blockading the pawn. Blockading the pawn is important so that this pawn stays as a weakness. If the pawn is not blockaded, it can potentially push, trade itself for this e-pawn, and then we don't really have any advantage. So our play is revolving around winning this pawn, and it's going to be a lot easier if we can trade these pieces. So that's going to be my goal. We'll see how successful I am. So yeah, let's definitely blockade that pawn. We don't want any discoveries. Now, we can trade here, but the problem is they can take with the pawn, and then these pawns are no longer isolated, right? So this is a bit annoying. We don't really want to trade rooks. So I'm gonna use this rook actually, and we're just gonna double on the d-file. And at some point, we're gonna try and trade off these pieces. It might not be easy. Again, if we take, they no longer have this isolated pawn. So I probably don't want to take just this second. So maybe I'll start by putting the bishop on f3. Maybe this feels like a slightly stronger square for my bishop. You know, some x-ray pressure on this pawn. And maybe one day I can transfer the advantage, right? Maybe one day I can take, and if I could get these doubled pawns, this would be great, right? But for now, my opponent's playing quite well. He's keeping his pieces. He's trying to be active with these pieces. Let's put the bishop on f3 and put some pressure here. And now I want to play this, but I'm a bit worried about them playing this. Let's see. If they go back, I can always go back, right? Like we can take our time. We can kind of test our opponent, see if they know what's up. We don't have to repeat. We're not playing for a draw here. We're just basically testing the waters. Also, take note how I put my queen on the dark square. When my opponent doesn't have a dark squared bishop, I want my queen on the dark square. This is useful. Aha! So at this moment, my opponent is trading minor pieces. So this is very good news for me. This helps my position. So we put the knight back on the blockading square, and now I can double, no problem. And you see how the opponent kind of... Okay, we need to be careful of tactics. I never liked the queen on the line of my king, so always put the king off the line of the queen. Right? There was this tactic where this could have been bad. Let's double. Okay, I need to be careful of the pressure on f2. But this is looking really good. This is exactly what I want. I want to put the rooks like this. And then I want to put the queen behind. And then I've got this ideal setup. So let's do exactly that. Now, he's shuffling back and forth. He doesn't really have a plan. This is even better. And this knight, you see how strong it is. It's really commanding the board. And now we've completely geared up our pieces against this IQP. Now we can move the knight and hopefully win this pawn. Okay, so let's see. Probably he plays bishop c6. Yeah, and now I put these pieces on dark squares, and I just need to find a way to attack this bishop. I need to find a way. Now, I can also play e4 at this point. e4 is already working. So, basically, yeah, whenever you play against the IQP, you're going to have this break. And this e4 break is what's going to win you the game. So, okay, let's pick up some more material. Oh, that even comes with check, even better. And maybe they take here. That's kind of smart. Oh, and they actually defend as well. Okay, my opponent had very little time. I also had very little time. That's why I was, you know, just trying to make moves as opposed to playing completely cleanly. But as you can see, yeah, like by playing this h3 move earlier as well, I don't have to worry about any back ranks. Like easily, I could miss this back rank checkmate. But instead, I don't have to worry about it because I've got myself covered, right? So as you can see again, like, you know, in the opening, I could definitely give myself some extra stuff to think about by playing one of these moves. But basically, as much as I would commend you to try and be objective and try and push for that advantage, you can also just stick to the repertoire. If you really understand how your pieces are placed, you're also going to be just fine. Like the worst case scenario, your opponent's going to play a stockfish game and get a draw. But that's literally worst case scenario. In reality, it's much harder for the opponent to do that. And as you can see, I got this really textbook kind of position. And even though my opponent was holding here, actually here I already could play e4. Yeah, they can't even push d4, and they can't take obviously because of this this capture. So whenever you're playing against isolated queen's pawn in these London setups, very often you're going to have this pawn on e3, and you're going to be able to make a timely e4 push. If you want to be absolutely sure that this is going to work, you can very simply just put your rook on d4, blockade this pawn, and then go for e4, and then this back rank stuff is going to be a real problem. So yeah. I think actually, guys, 3 games is going to be quite fun for you guys to learn from. I mean, basically, yeah, this wasn't very strong of an attempt of a speedrun because I even lost one of my games. But to be honest, it's not really about the speedrun. I think it's more about your understanding. So maybe I'll try and do some videos for different levels. We'll see if I actually manage a speedrun at some point. But I hope this kind of short video just explaining some of the ideas was useful to you guys. So I will publish some more 1c3 videos, basically working up this kind of level. There's no rush. And yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed that. So thank you guys, everyone, for supporting 1c3 Venom. Thank you to the YouTube members. Thank you to the Patreon subscribers. And I will see you in another video showcasing some more 1c3 content. Adios.